Next, I'd like to invite Erin.
I would say that I got the paperless route because I'm environmental, but it's because my printer didn't work. So. Bit of both. One second. Oh, there we go. Hello, everyone. Recently, and well, more than recently, most of my life, my writing has been about identity, but it's also now recently about teaching, which is what I've been doing here in Texas. And I've even started blogging about it. And I do this thing where it's called All the Forms I've Taught but Never Practiced Myself. So this is one of my newest entries. It's called Drainic. 3 years back, I moved from Ireland to Texas. I started teaching high school that same year. My partner, who had moved with me from Ireland, also began teaching at the same high school that same year. I am Irish, and he is from Texas. But to complicate matters, he speaks Irish, and I do not. I have what we call a couple of fuckle, but no more really than what I have in Spanish, or French, or German. My students are obsessed with both Ireland and my partner's and I's relationship. It is as if they are both foreign entities. Our students will often try to derail classroom activities with questions about where we lived and what we are like outside of school. Dr. J, what is a word that the Irish use that Americans don't? Dr. Flynn, how old is Dr. J? How would you say I love you in Irish? What's Dr. Flynn's favorite band? How would you say I hate you in Irish? What does partner mean? Are you going to have babies? Because you should have babies. You'd make great parents. Some questions we answer, and some we do not. We will sometimes compare notes after work and chuckle at what it is they want to know and why we think they want to know it. Sometimes it's like a pitting of mum against dad. Well, Dr. John wouldn't tell us, but Dr. Flynn did. Oh, she did she? Once, I had a rather upsetting class period, and I went to Jay to recoup. My eyes always betray me, though, and when I got back to my next class, my students could tell I had been crying. After I had got them writing, one of them asked to speak with me outside. She asked me if everything was okay, and she looked very concerned. She asked me what had happened, and I said it was nothing for her to worry about, that I was doing just fine, and thank you very much. And then her eyes filled up with tears, and she asked, "Did you and Dr. J break up?" Because I couldn't bear it. I hugged her close to me and said, "Oh, dear heart, no. We are fine. This was work-related." She sighed and relaxed, and we went back inside. As teachers, we have an interesting kind of relationship with the youth. We aren't their parents, and we aren't their friends, but we're more than just purveyors of information. We have a parental relationship of sorts, a mothering kind, but we also see a side to some of our students that they would never be comfortable showing to their parents. Sometimes this is good, and sometimes this is bad. In order to motivate and inspire, we attempt to earn the trust and respect of our students. I tell my students about myself. I share stories and relate to them what they need me to. There are also some things I do not share with my students, as it is necessary to create boundaries with them, and certain things they do not have a need to know. It is a balancing act of holding them close at arm's length. Creating and maintaining that relationship might be called thorny, but it is well worth it. There is an Irish form of poetry that goes by the same name, thorny. In Irish, it is Draenach. I discovered it recently, and I'm not sure how my students would react to this yet. The Draenach form is interesting and complicated. It has 9 to 13 syllable lines, an A-B, C-D, C-D rhyme scheme, quatrain stanzas, but no fixed amount of stanzas, and there are other rules too. The poem includes a duna, which means it ends as it begins, either the same word or line. You can also incorporate alliteration, cross rhymes, and a trisyllabic line ending, or, don't. It does make me laugh a little, for this sounds pretty Irish to me. In Irish, there are no words for yes or no. You will or you won't. You do or you don't. And many times it is both. Sure, I will or I won't. We'll see. Attempting this form is difficult. It's hard to just sit down and write in one sitting. I found myself even delaying the start for as long as I could. It was clunky and not quite right. But I kept at it for a few days, and I think I did okay. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. It's called Listen, Mac. Mac, I cannot speak my mother tongue. 'Tis true that neither does my mother. It shatters my sense that I belong, and makes me feel like an imposter. Neither of us was born in our home, nor did we roam there till much later. We shared shame, remorse, feeling disowned, and we keep moving on in search of a creator. We're settled now, ever so slightly, plunging roots like mad, not looking back. This hold on the earth I have lightly. 'Tis true that so does my mother, Mac. And then I've got 2 more poems. The first is The Window at Moor Park, which was our family home in Galway through a couple of generations. There is a window with no glass, a window framed by stone, rather stones. There is a window with no glass, and it is framed by stones. It has a ledge made from a piece of wood. Much like the stones, this piece of wood is a found object. This window is made a window by the piece of wood. Without this wood, this window is just a hole in the wall made of stones. This window comes to my mind now, though this window is no more. Nevertheless, this window left an opening in me ever since the first time and last time I saw it. It was in a house, the broken house made of stone. Next to the gate we had to open to get to the house made of bricks. There was a drive from the gate to the house made of bricks, a dirt road between 2 fields with fences of stone. On the right the cows, on the left the veg. We never stopped at the house made of stones, only to open the gate. Then the drive down to the house made of brick, where we met and shook hands and had tea. And mashed buds with milk and a bit of boiled bacon. And the kitchen would steam, so we had to leave the side door open even when it was cold. And the steam would pour out the door, and the chickens in the yard would cluck and ruffle and shuffle. And the cats would snooze, and the lads would strike the hurley off the wall in their Sunday best. I was only in the little house made of stone the once, flew down to it on borrowed bicycles, jarring and jangling down the dirt road, eating bugs as we soared with mouths open. We left bicycles propped up against the fence, climbed over the house made of stones, and there was no roof to speak of. And the inside was grown over with grass. Crossing the threshold of the doorway, we ducked, even though there was nothing above. Only 3 walls fully standing, mostly. The stones had fallen inwards and outwards, whichever way time had tossed them. It was quiet in the house, even though we were still outdoors. This is when I saw the window with no glass, framed by stone with a piece of wood as a ledge. And through the window I saw the road and the gate and the house made of bricks and the cows and veg and the steam, and you said in hushed tones, "This is where we lived," before the move to the brick house, our family, my family, before. We lived in the house by the gate, and we looked through the window and opened the gate for the others who lived in the house made of bricks before us. This is where my family lived. This is where we came to once, to look out that window in the house made of stones. There is a window. There is a window with no glass. There is a window with no glass, and it is framed by stucco. It has a ledge made of wood, a fine piece of wood, smoothed and sanded and finished by craftier hands. This window is a window because of this wood. Without the wood, it would just be a hole in a wall made of stucco. This window is inside my house, between the kitchen and the front room, and sometimes I rest my arms on that finely crafted piece of wood that serves as a ledge in the window framed by stucco. I rest my arms and hold my head, and I think about the window with no glass framed by stones, and I wish that I had gone there more when I had had the chance. My final piece is an homage to the wonderful space that Abe has granted to all of us in the round. The circle is a powerful thing. It holds and folds and centers. It comforts, confronts, and constructs. It is the building block and the wrecking ball. It is the crown upon itself. It is the open table and the closed loop, where all who join are connected to each, and the link binds us together. It is the moon and the sun and the stars above, the earth beneath and the core within. It is the beating heart and the glancing eye, the agape mouth and the clenched fist. It is the receiving bowl and the giving basket. It is the serpent's head meeting the serpent's tail. It is the very apple. It is the dancing girls in May and the flowers weaved upon their tresses. It is the place where the cats curl up and the boys chase after, and twisting and twirling, we all fall into. Thank you.